Hey guys, on today's episode, we're working on a 1980s poster car, the Lamborghini Countach anniversary. Now, this one in particular is a European model. It just landed at JFK. Then they shipped it up to us at the Ammo Studio to get it prepped and ready for sale in the United States. We're gonna do that today on this episode of Drive Protect. Big thank you to our sponsor, Factors, for helping us out with today's video. More on this during lunch. The 25th anniversary Countach was named in honor of Lamborghini's 25th year in business and was restyled by none other than Horacio Pagani. The most obvious changes are the enlarged rear air boxes that streamline the airflow down the body and create more airflow into the radiator, the addition of the rear bumper extension, and the dual ducting center raised engine bay cover. This was considered the fastest variant of the Countach model at the time, accelerating from 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds with a top speed of 183 miles an hour, with roughly 650 or so ever produced, and even fewer with a wing delete. This is sure to find a new home quickly. But first, we need to get her under the lights inside and start a healthy rinse and wash. For the paint, I'm using foam paint cleanser, and of course for the wheels, I'm using Brute wheel soap in the various buckets with microfiber towels and a bunch of brushes. I'm also using the help of Plum wheel cleaner when the time comes. But first, I rinsed everything down. Just check out how much dirt came off. I'm guessing this is just from the transportation. Plum is a safe, non-acidic cleaner that can be used on chrome wheels as well. This will help you lift the grime and the dirt off, and then Brute will help wash it away. In the super tight spots, I'm using a 2-tier wheel brush I made to get into the lug nut areas and the surrounding multi-piece bolts. For these particular calipers, I'm using the mini Woolly because of the clearance issues between the caliper and the inside or the barrel of the wheel. There's just no room whatsoever, so I have to use a little tiny brush to get in there. For the paint, I filled up the foam cannon with foam soap, added some water, and let her rip. For the tight spots, I'm using a soft bristle interior brush to agitate the stuck-on gunk around the emblems. After the rinse, I dried the paint with my Master Blaster Revolution that shoots out warm, dry, filtered air with both 4 horsepower motors turned on. This, of course, has enough power to remove the trapped water, but not so much that I'm worried about blowing off the paint or enlarging any pre-existing rock chips like an air compressor gun could do. It's really great on wheels, mirrors, and lights, and as we all know, these tend to be places that trap water right up until you drive, and of course it comes out, streaks all the way down the side of your freshly washed paint. So if you do get one, make sure you get one with a 30-foot hose as well. It nearly wraps all the way around the car, so you don't have to stop and readjust in between. For me, that's really important. If you want to receive 10% off any order from metrovac.com as a subscriber, meaning someone who watches the Ammo channel, they were kind enough to give us a code. You can use promo code AMMO at checkout again and get 10% off any of your orders at metrovac.com. Next, with the paint and wheels dry, I placed my wheel socks on because I've been asked not to lift the car, and obviously I just can't remove the wheels as I normally would do, so because of that, I'm covering up the chrome to avoid getting them dusty during the polishing and the many blowout sessions because it's single-stage paint. For the polishing, I'm using a white waffle foam pad with exfoliate polishing fluid to slowly remove the swirls and water spots it received everywhere during its travel to the United States. Well guys, it's now driving season, so the studio is packed with beautiful cars and I am absolutely swamped. So I got customers coming in and out all day long. I don't have time to go to a restaurant, wait in line, pay more, and eat food that's not that good for me. So what I use is Factor. It's delivered right to my door. I grab it, I run it up to the refrigerator. Now I have food for a week. It's super fresh, tastes amazing, and most of all, it's not frozen. Now the really cool part about Factor is they offer a bunch of different meals. They have 27 different options plus 33 add-ons, and they have smoothies. I love my smoothies. I actually put it right over there in between detailing. I pound it. It's absolutely, it tastes really great. Plus they have things like keto, calorie smart, chef's choice, vegan, and my favorite, protein plus. To get yours, head over to factor75.com or click the link down below and use promo code AMMO50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. Now back to my lunch with a view. Okay, at this point, I've done about half of the driver's side and I'm getting a plan for the rest of the car. Now, there's three things that I sort of discovered in this process. Right off the bat, this is about 8 to 10 mils, most of it. There's some spots that are 12, 15, 16, so there's lots of paint on this car. Number two, in terms of its hardness or softness, it's kind of like right in the middle, but leaning a little bit towards the soft side, so it's more soft than it is hard, but it's not the softest I've ever worked on. And number three is, obviously you can see here, single stage paint is coming off. So with all those factors combined, plus maybe a fourth that's incredibly expensive, I'm doing a different type of polishing technique. I called it light polishing, meaning this light right here, versus pattern polishing. When you do pattern polishing, it's you go up and down 3 times, across 3 times, wipe it off, and see what happened. That would be pattern. In this case, I'm using the light where I'm polishing. I turn it on and then you can actually see the pattern of the polish, you know, whatever the machine is, you know, 6 or 5 or 3, whatever you're using, right? You can see the pattern, and as you do that, you take the light, you shine it into the actual polish, and because it's on the softer side, you can see when the scratches actually come out. Now, what's interesting about that is because this car is so valuable and we want to leave as much paint as possible, the goal is just to take out that little scratch there, or the swirls. There's swirls everywhere on this car. You're just taking that out just enough and then you're gonna stop. On a side note, it's actually from a pro detailing perspective in terms of profitability, it's way easier to do this method because you're not just spending a given amount of time. This panel here was much faster than that panel back there because it's different material. They're just gonna react differently. So you're just waiting for that scratch to come out. As soon as it's out, you move on to the next area and you can walk around the car in much less time. After a few more hours of polishing, the 50/50 was much better than it was before. And with a car of this value, increasing the distinctness of image within the paint of even just maybe 5 or 10%, that translates into a significant increase in your sale number. So it's totally worth the effort here. If you don't have a lift, or in my case, you're not using it, it's best to lay on your back to get to the lower parts of any car because it's easier to keep your hands closer to your chest. You have a lot more power that way than to put stress on your lower back by leaning over. Now, this is exactly what we did when we were working on Matt Farah's red Countach a few years ago with Kevin Brown, Derek Bemis, and Daniel Hollinger. If you really want to nerd out on polishing techniques, click the link above and check out that video. For the super tight spots, I'm using a 1-inch nano in a foam pad. Because the surface area of a 1-inch pad is obviously way smaller than a 6-inch, it can't hold that much residue. So that means as a detailer, you're gonna have to blow that pad out more frequently than you would, let's say, a 6-inch pad. So keep that in mind. Next, I focused on the interior with a bit of lather, an interior brush, some steam here and there where I needed it. But overall, this thing was in really great shape. It just sort of needed to remove some body oils on the black leather, likely from transportation. But again, it wasn't a big deal, but we did need to clean it up. I removed the mats and then steam backed them, not thinking that they were going to be dirty at all, but when I saw the reservoir when I was done, I was completely wrong. But first, I sprayed with shag, then I scrubbed it in with a stiff bristle brush. Next, I used the air diffuser to sort of prop up the fibers, but at the same time, I'm actually spraying shag through the diffuser. It's really cool. Then I steam backed. During that process, you can actually see some of the dirt coming out, but at the end, when you pull the reservoir out, you go, oh my gosh, clearly this has not been cleaned since 1989. My last step on the interior was to add mousse conditioner, as the seats were definitely dry and incredibly thirsty for moisturizing. To do this, give it a few minutes to penetrate the material, then buff it off to a matte finish. Afterwards, I quickly vacuumed the floors, then I spent a few minutes just touching up the engine with Frothy by hand after noticing some spots that needed some love. In particular, on carbureted engines, I really try to stay away from using the power washer just to avoid any potential issues. This is where Frothy can be really helpful. Next, I polished the wheels by hand, then used the power ball after feeling comfortable with the results. For this, I'm using semi-chrome polish. I use this product and Barkeeper's Friend on the steam engine details I did a few months back. I'll put a link below. But for brass polishing in particular, I actually prefer the Barkeeper's Friend because it has oxalic acid. For those of you who are wondering, check out the video. After cleaning up the wheels, I then prepped the paint with a 50/50 ISO wipe down prior to applying my all-new coating called Reflex Pro 2. Now internally we call it Slick because after it's cured, it's now ridiculously slick and it has greater hydrophobicity, depth of color and gloss, especially on darker cars. That's really cool. It's layerable and stronger defenses against water spotting. Just check out the results, completely insane. More coming on this. The trick to removing any coating is to use more towels than you would, say, for carnauba or sealant, something like that. Using a regular wax, you might use, 3 or 4 towels to remove or buff off the top layer. For a coating like this, you might use, let's say, 8 or 9, depending on how big the car is, just to make your life easier. So keep all of that in mind. You really want a fresh towel when you're wiping off a coating. Now, because this new version flows better, you can actually put on a thicker layer of liquid on the paint during the application process. Once it rainbows after 1 or 2 minutes, again, it depends on your environment, the humidity, etc., then gently wipe it off. After you coat the entire car, you can actually go right back in and do a second layer without having to wait overnight. I know a lot of you have asked about that because you want to put on multiple layers, which makes sense. So for that, we actually tweaked the base formula and added an elastomer for intense slickness and greater overall depth, while at the same time being really user-friendly. When you're all done, just let it cure overnight and avoid moisture for 6 hours at minimum, then you're good to go. Finally, I protected the wheels with Gillette wheel coating, then I cleaned the very unique glass with Obey glass cleaner, a scrub pad, and a squeegee. Now, these are not the easiest windows to clean. It's almost like you gotta get in, close the door, and then clean them. So I was playing with that, but afterwards, I added mud tire dressing. It looked absolutely spectacular. We brought it outside to look at it in the daylight. Stunning. Hey.
What's up, man?
Good to see you again.
You too. Oh my God.
Crazy, right?
Does it get any more iconic than this? No.
The red just popped like crazy.
Wow, it is so juicy. Just drippy wet.
Look at these fins.
Red. Oh, it's
now, what
fantastic.
makes this different than, like, let's say a normal?
This is a 25th anniversary, which is the ultimate evolution of the Countach. End of the line. All the technical updates, the drive of this car is so different from an early car. It might as well be a different car. But the thing that makes this particular car really special, we never got these in the US. Take a look right there. Downdraft, baby. Wow. So what I mean when I say downdraft is that all the US cars receive fuel injection. This has downdraft carburetors, big horsepower bump, big torque bump. Man, when you just touch the throttle, you just hear the engine, whom, whum, whum. These cars were all born out of the factory without wings.
Really?
The wings were always dealer installed. Now, a lot of people went for the wing, but by regulation, these cars did not leave with wings. And what really makes this particular car special to me is the fact that it doesn't have a wing.
Yeah, it's cool.
The line, it just has that just smooth curve all the way back, uninterrupted. This car has factory sport seats, which, I mean, you're not a short guy. Man, if you were to try and get in a regular anniversary Countach with regular seats, you'd be sitting in there kind of driving like this.
I have it where my legs go like this and I get my steering wheel in between.
Yeah, you just be kind of all cranked up. With these sport seats, not only do they hold you in beautifully, they also give you a bunch of extra head and leg room, which is really, really nice. It's a very unusual thing that this car has. So we also got to mention the fact that this car has 4,700 kilometers from new on it. So this is a mint special option downdraft car, and man, you just made it look absolutely fantastic.
There's only one thing left to do, man.
We're gonna take this on the road, man.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you fill a Countach up with gas? Especially a downdraft one, because it's slightly different than a US car. What kind of car is that? Lamborghini.